The 0.7 update to Assetto Corsa Evo just dropped. What's changed? What's new? What's good? What's absolutely terrible? And how far along in the pizza oven is the Assetto Corsa Evo pizza? That is what we're going to be investigating in this video. But before we do, make sure you subscribe so you can unsubscribe when I tell you things you don't want to hear. Click the like button or don't. And as always, thank you to all our channel members, channel supporters, donors and people that waste money supporting us. It's really appreciated. As always, let's first talk about the positives before I delve into the sadness. And there is sadness almost as great as that T1. Look there. You missed it. It was smoke. Actually, it was dust. It wasn't smoke. But we now have particle effects from the cars. And if you go off-road, you get a bit of dust and some little bit of grass particles. And you also have smoke from tyres locking up. Does this smoke look the best? No. Is it better than iRacing particles and dust? No. Is it better than Shader Patch AC1 particles and dust? No. But it's there, and the fact that you can have grass particles sprayed in your face, I personally find highly arousing. And it does look perfectly serviceable. All it needs is a little bit more dynamics, a bit of tweaking, and maybe some sound effects for when grass and particles hit the car, because that adds to the immersion a ton. But it's quite good how it is at the moment. Now, there has also been some safety rating tweaks online which have made the online racing completely clean. Oh no, it's exactly the same as it was before. By the way, I was on my break there. Mr. Petit Titio drove me into those cars. That wasn't me ploughing them. I mean, I did plough them, but that's because I was being ploughed. It was a multi-plough takedown. Yeah, the racing's exactly the same as it was before. But I think what will happen is, as more people come to it, that spreads people out based off their skill level and splits, and that has a really big impact of improving the driving. Stuff like safety rating is more just a little mild slap on the cheek to disincentivize constant wrecking. The big thing here is that Kunos are constantly adjusting things, they're aware of it, and they're trying different stuff out with the multiplayer, which I think is quite good, especially at this point in the game's development. On the topic of the multiplayer, I will say though, there definitely needs to be some optimization in the netcode or how the cars react to contacts. We were getting like ghost contacts in this, somewhat reminiscent of iRacing's netcode, and worse netcode than what we have in AC1 when we're hosting our own AC servers. So I think they've got quite a lot to go on with the multiplayer. But it is passable, and it's definitely better than games like Gran Turismo and Forza Horizon and those kind of things in terms of netcode. But you'd expect that because it's supposed to be a proper PC simulator. I'm still waiting for a proper racing sim to get to the gold standard of netcode that is Wreckfest 2. If you've not played that, the netcode in that is superb. I don't know what they've done there. They're absolute magicians. Now, I'm on a Voodoo 2 12MB graphics card, not even in SLI, so it's hard for me to judge the performance of this simulator and performance improvements. But we do have lots of viewers of the channel that have peasant graphics cards like 3080s, 4050s, and you know, your mid-range, incredibly affordable, not the price of a used car graphics cards. And they are all saying that there have been moderately substantial performance improvements with Evo. So this update seems to have refined the engine and made it run better for people. So that is absolutely fantastic, and probably the most crucial part of this update. If it is indeed actually true, we need to run some benchmarking and see that there's nothing, that people aren't telling porcupines. But I will say, even on my Voodoo 2, as I say, the game did seem to be running a little bit more stable. Like the frame timing seemed immaculate. So that's a really good sign. Really hopeful. I haven't had a chance to test in VR yet, but that'll be something as well. If you got better performance in 2D, obviously you probably get better performance in VR. I will say though, this game is still heavier than the amount of wealth extracted from the general population into the pockets of a few billionaires. So don't expect it to run on a potato. Now, another really big thing with this update, which is probably not a big thing for you or anyone looking to play the game and buy the game right now, is the release of their first version of the SDK tools. And for those of you that don't know, SDK stands for Slightly Delayed Kunos. But what these tools allow for is for people to get involved in the modding, making cars, tracks, and importing them into the game. You need this sort of tool interchange to allow the community to fix the game that the developers put out. So it's really nice that they've actually packaged those up and put that out there. And I think that's probably one of the big reasons why we've had this update now, which is a relatively small update to AC, but it means that you've now got the slightly delayed Kunos tools there available for everyone to use. Mind you, you do have to ask the question, will someone make mods for a complicated simulator where a mod could take a lot of time and effort to produce, a simulator that currently drives worse than a simulator from 10 years ago, and one where the mods are likely going to be constrained by intellectual property rights, with Kunos themselves probably not allowing a Fricappuccino Formula car to be put in the game. Mind you, when it comes to Ferraris, it's impossible to now tell whether or not someone's made a rip-off car or they've put a square into a 3D modeling package and applied mesh smooth to it. So it's going to be really complicated for the developer to distinguish what is a copyright infringement. But it's good that the tools are there for everybody to use and for the developer to profit off the wider public's work put into their game. Now, aside from those big announcements, we also have some new cars in the update: Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo, Datsun 240Z, Porsche 935, Porsche 911 GT2 RS Club Sport Evo kit. Car names are ridiculous. And that's nice. They're nice quality car models. I actually think the audio is really nice in Evo. The amount of artistry and polish that you see in the content is really, really good. That's always been a thing with Kunos. And some other developers as well do a fantastic job on this. But separate to the physics, driving and other gameplay things, these games are like a museum for the real world cars, and it's excruciating detail. It blows my mind. If you've ever done any 3D modeling, even if you've applied mesh smooth to a cube, you will appreciate how much work goes into even loading up a 3D package. Getting a car to come out that are as beautiful as these, sheer genius. But that genius is going to be made redundant by the AI future, so just enjoy this artistry and human labour whilst you can, guys. Now, in terms of physics, handling and all that stuff, the new cars drive very much in line with other Kunos cars. The content is very consistent in Evo, which I think is quite a nice thing. If you enjoy how things drive, then you'll like the new cars. If you didn't, well, you'll still probably find them quite annoying to drive. But that's another really good thing with Kunos, is that their content is always very consistent. You don't have one car that's completely, totally bananas and another car that's then really, really good. You tend to just get stuff that's sort of a good average level of quality. The opposite to, say, PMR, for example, where content is all over the place. Now, I did find with all the new cars that they tend to be very much on the understeery side with the default setups. The brake bias is really far forwards on them, and the setups on them is just in the nature of being understeery. So it might be worth you lowering rear wing, increasing front wing, stiffening rear ARB, making the front ARB less stiff, moving the brake bias backwards, and you can make the cars a little bit more oversteery. Yeah, that was just a general thing I noticed with the vehicles, and actually in Evo in general. The cars now seem a lot less wanting to poke into corners, even compared to earlier versions of Evo. It's gone in a more understeery and less immediate physics. It's a lot slower to drive. The response to the vehicles is a lot slower than it used to be. Maybe not from this update. This happened a few updates ago. I don't think Kunos really have done anything particularly to the physics for this update, other than you having new cars to drive, which obviously is slightly different from the other cars. But you know what I mean? I don't think they've, with this update, it doesn't seem like they've done anything to fundamentally transform the physics of the simulator. So those are the main positives. Nice new cars, nice models, great graphics, optimisation, improvements in the online multiplayer for safety rating system, and now some dust, smoke and grass, and an SDK for people to start doing modding. And after far too much positivity, it's now time to be a bit miserable, jaded, cynical, and tell you what's still really wrong with this game. So, as I say, they haven't changed the physics drastically in this update, so the physics is still the same that it was in the last update, give or take. And unfortunately, that does mean that this is a really weird sim to drive. Driving the new cars in this, I just kept feeling like, well, this is weird. It's really hard to put a finger on it, but it's kind of like driving in slow motion. It's kind of a bit sloppy, and the conclusion I got to, especially with the new cars that we were driving, is that this now seems to drive like if you were to mix iRacing with ACC. So you have this sloppy, pedal authoritative driving where everything has to be done preemptively. Not in an entirely bad way to drive, generally speaking. It's a driving style you can use in general, but it's the only way that it really wants to be driven. Combined with ACC's bizarre passenger slide when you actually get to the limit, or if you try to actually put the car on the limit to try and hold it at the limit as you would with a real car or more realistic sims like AMS1, AC1, Richard Burns Rally, Live for Speed. If you try to like get it to the limit properly and really balance at the limit, you'll find you just go into a sort of power slide, passenger slide that you then really slowly snap it out of and continue driving. So unlike iRacing, the tyres don't turn off in this for no reason and just make you slop off the track. And unlike iRacing, the grip does return quite quickly in this once you go past peak grip, but it's really weirdly slow motion. And then the cars have the ACC thing where it's also like the cars are sort of tanks. Like everything feels like a wheelbarrow filled with water or lead even. It's so bizarre. It's really bizarre. And that's not to say it's universally terrible though. Like there's a general consistency to the handling in this that I think in some ways is better than LMU, and at least the tyres don't completely turn off or slop forever like iRacing. So that is, I think, more satisfying than iRacing. I'd also not describe the driving in this as hard. Like it's very forgiving and allows you to be a slow driver in terms of steering wheel reaction. Mostly it forces you to drive preemptively at the moment on the pedals. So if you're a driver that's not good at brake input, trail braking and precise throttle input, you'll find it hard. But if you've got basic pedal control, this is a really easy sim to drive. So I guess that's a positive for a lot of people, but it just lacks the dynamics and the ability to properly dance the vehicles, which was the essence of Netcar Pro and AC1, which is the sort of hook of those games over other simulators. And the same applies to, as I say, AMS1, Live for Speed, Richard Burns Rally. It's not just one sim that does this well. There's a certain threshold of realism of what you should be able to do as a driver, a balance of wheel input, pedal input, and the controllability of the cars when you've got when you're on or just slightly past or slightly under peak grip of the tyres, all four tyres. You need that drivability there and that depth there at the limit in that neutral steer state. And it seems that a lot of sims now really struggle with that. ACC never had it. Evo doesn't have it. iRacing doesn't have it unless it's a high downforce car at speed. LMU only really has it high downforce at moderate speed, but low speed doesn't have it. So yeah, unfortunately, when I drive this and play it, we played it for like 3 or 4 hours in a live stream, and I was like, oh, this is just soulless to drive. And that's despite the car models being fantastic. I like how this game looks. As long as you've got a Voodoo 2 to run it well, it looks phenomenal. The audio of the cars is really nice as well. Not perfect. There's some aspects of the audio that's a bit weird, but it's not obnoxious audio like ACC. It's really nice, immersive and rich audio. The RPM is really clear. So there's some really good artistry that's gone into this that really stands out as very high quality. But then the driving just kills me. It kills me. Maybe a little bit less than ACC, but 4 hours of playing this in a live stream, and I was just like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm just not feeling anything. And yeah, that's kind of normal for being British, but you know, but I think the joy of driving a vehicle is balancing. It's playful, being playful with the vehicle. It isn't, let's robotically memorize the brake trail and entry point into this corner and then apply the throttle pedal out of the corner as smooth as possible, and then maybe counter steer a little bit to recover from pressing the throttle slightly too much. And now let's refine that over hundreds of hours to be a pro esports driver. Oh, so dull. And so counter to what Netcar Pro, AC, and what I personally think driving is about. So, needless to say, there's a long way to go with this for the raw handling. I think people that aren't particularly fast or good drivers don't notice or care. And, you know, every sim and video game has its own way of driving that you may or may not like subjectively. So, if you enjoy it, good for you. For me, this is just not there. Now, also with this update, still, if you want to do multiplayer races, get sent to an external website. I think they need to get that into the game as soon as possible, but I'd imagine maybe they're going to work on the UI, so maybe that's why they're putting that off, because the UI, for the most part, is still pretty horrendous and a bit of a mess. The in-car user interface is actually quite nice. They need a button, so you can hide the UI with the button push, following on from our previous video, but the actual in-game UI is totally fine, right? It's got the information there, it's not too cluttered, but the way you navigate everything, select vehicles, all that stuff, the multiplayer, the server list, all that stuff is shocking. It's just not good. But yeah, that's probably something they'll fix in the future. It's only version 0.7. There's not really much point in me complaining or whinging about the stuff that they obviously haven't patched from the previous version. You could just watch our previous video to listen to that whinging. So all in all, the thing is to just keep your expectations there. They've done what they've done in the update. This is still Evo. If you already enjoyed it, I think you will have enjoyed the progress. As we say this with every video with these sim titles and developers that are actually constantly doing work, as you'd expect for early access, but even post early access, I think it's awesome when developers do sizable amounts of work, and they are obviously doing that in this case. Reeza's another good one for that. LMU developers, Motorsport Games, you know, they are constantly working on them, and I think that's awesome. You play other games that come out in early access and they're just dumped by the developer, or you know, they move on to the next project. So I do really like that this is improving, but the fundamentals just aren't great. But if you enjoyed it already, you'll probably still enjoy it. But if you were like me and you find this like driving wheelbarrows filled with lead but with nice shiny graphics, then yeah, it's still the same thing. So don't expect a huge change from this update. Keep your expectations grounded. I would say generally you're still way better off at the moment playing the original Assetto, trying out all the insane mods. Someone's literally just done an entirely new time model for that, which we're going to experiment with. Not that the old one was bad. There's always stuff happening with Assetto for you to try out, and the fundamental driving in AC1 is so good. There's literal race teams using it as their training tool, so it can't be that bad even if you hate it. So anyway, I have to give, to be fair to Kunos with Evo, it's not expensive in early access though, is it? And for like 20-30 quid or whatever it costs now, we did have some good MX5 races that were quite entertaining, and if I'm being fair, it was pretty similar to iRacing in some ways. Ironically, the Ghost netcode made it very similar to iRacing, but iRacing's £15 a month plus £20 per car. So if you're being fair to Kunos, price value to entertainment wise, this is the best value thing ever. Mind you, AC1 costs like £5 and it's infinite entertainment and amazing, but you know what I'm saying. So I'm not saying this is terrible value for money. You just got to be aware of where it is, and I do these videos from the perspective of someone that's got 3 billion years of sim racing behind us and played every sim for many hundreds of hours. So if you're sort of more casual, you'll give it a go, and I think you'll probably have a good time if you've got a fast computer. Right. So that's it really, guys. I mean, let me know in the comments if there's stuff that you noticed in this update that I didn't talk about that you thought was really good, or what your jaded, sad, miserable view on this title is. I like a bit of despair and I like a bit of positivity. You've got to mix the two together. It's like a cup of tea. If you didn't have a mammal that you then imprison and steal its young and then steal its bodily fluids from it, you wouldn't be able to put milk in your glorious tea, and your tea would just be like weird hot water on tea leaf, right? You know, and there's going to be beetles and stuff in your tea. You've got to mix the good and the bad. That's just how it is. So we'll like those comments. They're a good mixture. Till the next one though, guys, happy tea drinking. Thanks for watching. Take care and goodbye.